In a battle that pins Cardinal versus Crimson, it is win or go home. The second round of the college football playoffs are here. The Fiesta Bowl is Stanford versus Alabama. But for the Cardinal, they're looking for that three-peat of the national championship. But first, they've got to get through the Tide. And as for the Tide, they barely squeezed out of the first round of the playoffs 27-24 over Florida State. But that was also their only win over a ranked opponent this season. But they did also close out their year in a rivalry against Auburn, wiping the floor with them, and they went 8-4, finishing that game 48-10. They are led by senior quarterback Monty Finnery from South Lake, Texas. And this year he racked up over 3,000 passing yards, 27 touchdowns to only 5 interceptions. But he's only hitting on 59% of his throws, and those throws are averaging less than 10 yards per attempt. They are missing a key part of their offense, however, with Corey Parker, the sophomore standout running back, out, as just a couple weeks ago he tore his ACL. So instead, they'll be relying on the senior running back in Maurice Zekelj. While he's seen very limited use as a primary running back, he does lead Alabama in both receiving and receiving yards, tied for first in receiving touchdowns with their sophomore receiver in Quincy Lenovo. Now when you get to the defensive side, you've got to worry about their linebackers, starting with George Chick. Middle linebacker leads them in tackles with 77. TFL leader is right outside linebacker Antonio Miranda. And your sack leader is another right outside backer in Tony Palacio. They're also set to play against the most efficient offense in college football, with 298 first downs compared to number 2, Appalachian State's 217. Defensively, they vastly lead the league in sacks, with your Heisman winner in Nathan Henderson leading the charge. They also have given up the least amount of yards by nearly 300 compared to NC State in second. And all indications point to a great game down here in Glendale, Arizona, as Bama gets this Fiesta Bowl underway. And it's Taj Jewell looking for a return down the middle, and it will be a long field for the Stanford Cardinals, starting back at the 14. Of course, our offense coming off a slightly rough game against Boise State and back-to-back showings against the Broncos. Look to see them rise back on top here against Bama, as Wesovich with a hard cut, he'll pick up 6. We saw him really get back to his flow last game, around 10 carries. Checks off the field here, though, as Jewell comes on out for 2nd and 4. Throwing underneath, and that's going to be Bargava for the first down. He racked up quite a few catches in that last game. Off the field here, though, on 1st and 10 with Lockett in motion right side. He had a bit of a rough showing last episode. Holds on to this one, though, on his way for a gain of 9. Giving a little bit of some forward progress there. Cardinal need just one more here for another fresh set of downs. At the 34, it's a single back A set. Wesovich with a handoff cuts back towards the middle and will roll with his line forward, as Antonio Miranda is shaken up, one of the leading linebackers here for Alabama. We'll see how much that affects this defense. It's Jewell here on the carry as he gets a gain of a few, but a flag comes in late. Looking like this one will be coming back. They get the Cardinal center in Conklin with the hold. They get 1st and 17, so at least that hold was a bit downfield, and now jumping early, you have Upshaw. So a little bit of a dance back and forth here. Cardinal now make it 1st and 12, a little bit better than that 17. As Sorensen gets them set, it's trips look to the right-hand side. And throwing out of the sack will be Sorensen. Rico Acho shows up there for the Tide, as it was Vallejo coming across to find space. Pass wasn't able to get there. 2nd and 12. And they're looking downfield and finding Lockett, who takes a massive hit And Miranda is down again, clutching at that left knee. Always hate to see that, especially in games of this magnitude. Hopefully he will be okay. Heads to the sideline for a 1st and 10 as it's Jewell. This time his gain will count. Cardinal pick up 7 on the halfback draw to the 25. Single high safety here for Alabama. Still with that trips look for the Cardinal. And throwing towards the sideline for Kramer, and he has it at the 2. Those terrific hands from tight end 1 here, the Stanford Cardinal. He's had some great catches, mostly a blocker, but he gets the job done there. 1st and goal with motion across his Vallejo. It's Wesovich as Kramer leads the way. Cardinal finds a touchdown to close their opening drive, and they got the job done. Both through the ground game and through the air. A couple spectacular grabs along the way. Caps off a 9-play, near 80-yard drive for the Cardinal. Now it's time to see what the defense can do, led by your Heisman winner in Nathan Henderson. They did struggle a little bit last week against the Broncos, especially against the run game, but it's a check down here on the throw. That's number 88, Owosika, for Alabama. Now expect a lot more passing in this game than running. Nathan Henderson shuts it down on their first attempt, going to Vales. He's far more than just a pass rusher. 3rd and 8 for Alabama. As the pressure builds, here comes Henry, forcing the throwaway to the kicker's net. That will be a punt. For the Cardinal, this could be a big opportunity. You're already up a touchdown. You're starting close to midfield. If you could get a touchdown drive organized here, really stake claim early on in this Fiesta Bowl. It's Biggums, though, on the carries. He looks to cut all the way across. Will be a gain of 3. We've seen this Cardinal team start to utilize those 3 running backs a little bit more as this season has gone along. Under pressure here, that ball's thrown out and picked off. Under pressure, Sorensen trying to get it out to his senior receiver. But it's Roundtree cutting off that throw, jumping in front, and it's the turnover belt here for Alabama. We saw that same thing against Boise State twice. Under pressure, Sorensen just trying to do a little bit too much. Provides a much-needed break here for Alabama, who nearly throws their own pick. They went to their tight end, who did have Tyrone Heggie sitting underneath. He just didn't see that that pass was thrown. They do lose 2 on the catch. Going to the air here and outside. Manu Cave beat by speed. Hopping over one defender, going for that ankle tackle. Ty Holly and Cave eventually bring him down, but it's at the 32 here, 1st and 10. And they go play action. Flooding one side, it's a pass downfield that's on the money. Finnerty lofts that one beautifully to his receiver, and they tie the game. And give credit to Lenovoy, who had plenty of speed and dominated that drive. And in almost a mere instant, the Cardinal went from having the opportunity to really take control of this game to now level here with the Crimson Tide. Starting back at the 25. They've got Thrash in motion. Gonna give it to that big receiver with surprising speed. Gets outside, gain of 4. Haven't seen too much of jet sweeps with this Cardinal team. We'll see how much of new things they try to fold in here in the playoffs. Throw is outside and broken up for Vallejo. Good job by their outside corner there to keep that coverage tight. 3rd and 6 of the 29. Hard count, and linebacker definitely stepped down, but it looks like they're actually going to get the indication here on Acho. If he did actually move early, it was slight. But with the right guard and Pete Morton jumping, it forced that call. 3rd and 1 here. It's Biggums and Babineau in the backfield. Following his blocks, Biggums will get just enough. Definitely not massive amount of space there, but it gets the job done here. As the Cardinal have a 1st and 10 at the 35. Sorensen checking the sideline a couple times here before they look to snap that ball. And it will be a pass rolling to the outside here and throwing, squeezing that one just by their linebacker. But Madu unable to squeeze that one. Ball's incomplete, 2nd and 10 as they look to go back to the air. Check down here to Joe Wesovich, as it'll take a gang of 3 to finally bring him down. With a 3rd and 3. At the 42, bunch look to the left-hand side. Sorensen tries that hard count. No one jumps. And lofts it downfield, and over the top of the linebackers, he finds Lockett. A beautiful touch throw there from Sorensen, as it's Wesovich not able to escape the blitz. George Chick, who leads them in tackles, brings him down and sends us to the break. First quarter comes to an end with a tie ball game here, 7-7. -3 rushing yards, though, for Alabama. Only 24 for the Cardinal. You have both defenses forcing that ball to be thrown. And a 2nd and 11 to start the second quarter. It's motion all the way across. That's going to be Lockett for the Cardinal. And again under pressure, barely getting that one out. Sorensen takes a big hit there and forces a 3rd and long. Bunch look right-hand side. Tight coverage on the outside. And again, some early movement here. Alabama has not been able to hold their water. I believe that is the 2nd penalty today for Upshaw. Makes it 3rd and 6 now at the 38. And dropping back, throwing this one outside. That's Kramer, passed a little bit behind, but he adjusts. First down for the Cardinal. Already a couple big grabs here for the tight end. And it's 1st and 10 here, tight shotgun look. Rolling and throwing, he's got his receiver Bargava coming across. He's been a bit more of the down the field guy this year, but a couple grabs underneath. That one goes for 8. As it's a draw that Jewell cannot escape the backfield. One of the All-Americans here for Bama bringing him down. They lose 2, and it's now 3rd and 4. Hard count, and again, you've got a Bama player shifting early. This time it'll be a free first down. This time they get Titus over at that right end spot. 1st and 10 at the 15. Lockett in motion as they fake it to him. They're looking for that quarterback counter, and he's got a gain of 4. That was a staple of this Cardinal offense the last couple seasons. Hasn't been as big this year, but they stick with the same look. As they look to go with a screen pass, it's Jewell outside with the blocks to set the edge. Cardinal retake the lead here down in Glendale, making it 14-7 in the Fiesta Bowl and back in front of Alabama. And that caps a great response from the Stanford Cardinal after their interception. Bama went down to tie the game. Now they have that lead again here. About 6.5 minutes to go in the first half, and Jason Blair with another great run stop. Now it is important to note that Alabama is going with Vales, one of their younger running backs, rather than who was expected to step in Zakelj this game. In fact, we've barely even seen him out on that field at all. We have seen a whole lot of 87 with a 3rd and 2. It was looking like a stop there from the Cardinal. Vales, he finally picks up some yards. He breaks the tackle of Tyrone Heggie in the backfield. It's 1st and 10. As they go right back to him, he shakes one but can't shake the rest of them. Cardinal hounding on that play. It was Sabri who finally brings him down. 2nd and 10, they look to go to the air here. And they've got options to the right side, but unable to find him as he's having to dance around the backfield. Finnerty goes down as Jason Blair picks up the sack. We're seeing the Cardinal get that pressure from pretty much every spot up front. They force a 3rd and 13 here. As Alabama looks deep downfield, but Blair is back and Finnerty is dropped for another loss. 4th and 18, Bama will have to punt. Outside that one drive from the Cardinal defense, they've been pretty good out the gate. Giving the ball back to their offense here at the 35. Yet again with another chance to widen their lead. Wesovich slips through, gain of 5. He's at 5 carries, only 18 yards though. Cardinal really not opening up that running game quite yet. They'll go back to it here, and Wesovich with a bit more space. He rumbles by the 50 as Cortez Braverman looks to be a little bit banged up after that play. There were quite a few big bodies that ended up landing on him. It's a 1st and 10 though for the Cardinal at the 47 as they go spread empty. Throw across the middle, though. That is going to be Bargava, close to the first down. And Miranda once again limping out there for the Crimson Tide. Gotta give that man some props, though, trying to fight through in what is a win-or-go-home situation for both these teams. As we're inside 3 minutes to go here in the second quarter, stepping up but not able to escape is Sorensen. Upshaw brings him down. That's a play that this Alabama front seven really needed. A lot of penalties have been placed on them. They get a play back as Jewell looks to get outside. A little spin move, but a good flow from the defense. Really limit what the Cardinal able to pick up on that one. Leaves a 3rd and 7 through the 2-minute break. At the 33, it's a tight shotgun look here for Sorensen. Throws again underneath, and he's got Lockett for the first down. Cardinal just able to keep these drives moving. It's what's led to their success the last few seasons, being the most efficient offense in the league. And again, Bama brings the pressure, and it forces an errant throw. You're able to take just a smidgen off of that. You hit Bargava on the run, and you probably are calling a touchdown. Instead, 2nd and 10. As it's Jewell on the draw, he picks up maybe 1. Good response there from Alabama, sitting true. And once again, they force a 3rd and long at the 21 here for the Cardinal. They've got the seam nearly picked off. Recovery speed there from the safety, and it forces a field goal attempt here for Ritter that he'll poke right down the middle. Cardinal extend their lead, going up 2 scores, making this one 17-7. And it'll be at the 17 with under a minute to go here for the Alabama Crimson Tide, nearly throwing their own pick. Rico Body crashed on that hard with help coming from the other side. Ball falls incomplete. 2nd and 10. Alabama looks to go back to the air and again nearly throwing a pick. That time courtesy of Manu Cave. A quick 3rd and 10 though for the Tide, as they look to get this one outside. All over it though is Jason Blair, who sets up a clothesline, and a timeout called from Coach Bearington. He wants that ball back, and he has it close to midfield with 2 timeouts in that back pocket. They start with some play action, throwing it out quickly, and they find Lockett down the sideline, dipping out at the 27. A quick hitter for the Cardinal. That has them inside the 30 here. We still got 22 seconds with 2 timeouts to spare. It's 2 to either side here for Sorensen, barking a few calls out there as he looks to get his offense set up. And looking downfield, it's one-on-one. Bargava, he's got it this time as he finally goes downfield. It's a little bit of a almost 30-yard comeback the way that one was thrown. Leaving 17 seconds, Cardinals score in about 10. And give credit to Sorensen. He delivered a beautiful ball there under pressure, finally delivering for his Cardinal offense, who has been primarily passing in that first half. 200 yards, just 245 rushing, but averaging 7 yards per play. They've got 14 first downs and only 1 penalty. Meanwhile, Alabama, they are racking up penalty yards here on defense, gifting the Cardinal with a lot. They put together 1 good offensive drive, but outside of that, it's been all Cardinal ball, especially the last couple minutes of that first half. For the Tide, they've got a big opportunity to kickstart the second half of play. They've got ball, and they hand it off to Vales, who finds space. His biggest run of the day. 3rd biggest play for Alabama's offense. There's been a lack of a run game that I think has really slowed down their offense. Seems to be a focus out the gate here. Vales with another solid gain on first down. Can't complain about 4. Setting up 2nd and 6, though, motioning out here as they look to set up a screen his way. Defense bites in. Vales is to the outside, and he's got a big gain to the midfield line. One thing the Cardinal defense has struggled with throughout the last couple of years is managing running backs who can catch that ball. They're trying to fold that in here. With their starting running back out, we'll see how Vales can keep up here. That's about 4 or 5 straight plays. Make it another, as it's an ankle grab, setting up the spear by Sabri. Cardinal now force that 3rd and 7. Double A gap look as they bring the blitz. Vales, they go his way again, and he squeezes out 3. But it looks like they're going to have to punt from there. An interesting tactic out the gate there from Bama, but does not pay off. Ball is over to the Cardinal, starting at the 25. They got trips look to the left-hand side. Looking outside, they've got Lockett as that ball's dropped in beautifully by Sorensen, who goes over 230 with that throw and catch. He's definitely had a few questionable throws in this one, but that's when the pressure has been in his face. Give him a little bit of some time, and he could really throw a beautiful ball. Jewell checks in here, but tracked down by Miranda. And that's a kid you've got to give a lot of props to out there, fighting through injury in this one. We've seen him exit the field a couple times. Playing through, he makes a stop and gets stuck in on that one as well. He helps force a third down here for the Cardinal. They need to pick up 7. But they bring out Biggums and Babineau into the backfield. It's a strong pistol set. Motion left-hand side as they look to set up a throw. Not enough time, but throws out of the sack at least. Ball hits the turf. It forces a 4th down, but the offense stays on the field. You're already up by several touchdowns here. Hard count doesn't work. Doesn't work again. Sorensen with the 3rd time, and this time it will be the Cardinal backing up, most likely punting that ball. But for Coach Bearington, with what you saw in that first half with several early jumps, you got to try it there early on in the second half. 1st and 10 for Alabama as they're going deep downfield, and I don't know how they didn't catch that one. Roth got near perfect separation off the snap, and when he had the break in his route, he had even more space. Just simply forgot that this isn't a track meet. He also got to catch the ball. Fails here on the run. Hard fought for a gain of 3. Once again, Bama set up with a 3rd and long here. They need 7 for the first. As they motion their running back out. Look to throw the opposite way as it's nearly picked off. Does, however, force a punt. And it's been all defense so far in this second half of play. We're about halfway through the 3rd quarter, a little bit more. We haven't seen any offense get close to scoring yet. Alabama's still holding strong against the run. Jewell only picks up 3 there on first. Stays in the backfield here for 2nd and 7. As Sorensen looks to scramble, he looks to get outside. Big block there from the receiver on the outside. Sorensen scampers out. Honestly, lucky there's no penalty there for throwing the ball at one of the Alabama players out the sideline. 1st and 10, Jewell, he looks to get his speed outside, and he's got a gain of 8 before tracked down by 4 defenders. With a lot of underneath play, do we see any attempt to go downfield here for the Cardinal? Rolling outside, and a receiver just left wide open. That's going to be Bargava as he turns and gets down to the 1. Well, you could definitely say that was a deep throw. That wasn't the intended deep ball, but the deep ball opened up him sitting underneath. 1st and goal. It's a heavy shotgun look, and once again, the Cardinal can walk in a goal line touchdown. This time, it goes to Taj Jewell. Cardinal open up a 31-7 lead here in the Fiesta Bowl on the Alabama Crimson Tide. Barring an absolute meltdown here late in this game, it doesn't look like you're at any risk of the Cardinal going anywhere for now, but they still got a little over a quarter to play, and Vales has been heating up. When you are down as much as Alabama is, you got to wonder when they're going to start to try to throw that ball. As they go back to the run here, and waiting for him in the gap is Dragan, who helps make the stop, but appears to be a little bit shaken up on that play. That's quite unfortunate. He's been fantastic, transferring in from UW. Brings out Waddle here, 3rd and 2, sent on the blitz, but he can't disrupt the play. Bama finds their check down, converting the 1st down, as this should be the final play here of the 3rd. With a quick throw outside, finding their main receiver who has the speed. But watch out, Kevin Salmon, he also has some speed, tracking him down and sending us to the 4th quarter. Alabama in some serious trouble here, down 31-7. Well, their offense has picked up the pace in that 3rd quarter despite not finding any points. Vales has led the way. We'll see how much he could get involved in the closing couple minutes. Big hit jars that free. Give credit to that one, J.P. Waddle, who breaks it up, and he will be in here the remainder of the game as Dragan is out the remainder. Now, that was all Coach Barrington wanted to state with that injury. We'll hopefully get an update post-game on how that might affect the Cardinals' playoff games. Check down here, and getting out of bounds is Zakelj. One of the few times we've actually seen him have an impact in this game. 4th and 7, he's on the right side slot. Downfield and nearly picked again, but it is going to be a turnover on downs. Right at that pass breakup to Nicholson, the backup safety / 4-2-5 safety. But at the 38, checking in, and Wesovich with a hard cut avoids a massive loss. It's by no means a big run, but it does flip what could have been a loss of 4 or 5 into a gain of 1. Biggums checks in, and he had a gap, but it closes. We talked at the start how important this linebacker core has been for Alabama. They're coming up big against the run today. However, it's been the pass where they've struggled. Pass rush shows up, though, for a quick 3 and out on the Cardinal. Alabama once again with the ball here, but they haven't found a touchdown since the first half of play. They've got 6:25 to play with and counting. Coming across and finally getting a big play, a big hit. Zakelj delivers the first down, but he might need to go under concussion protocol with that kind of hit. 1st and 10 for Bama's the quick throw outside, and by the diving defender in Saban. And getting another big gain. Lenovoy, he's been all over the field today for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Has their one and only touchdown as well. As they look to go downfield, unable to cut it off, Tyrone Heggie gives up the big play, and it is Zakelj getting them on the board here in the second half. But is it too late for the Crimson Tide? Well, they've still got just over 5 minutes to play with here, and they're keeping the offense out there for a 2-point try. They need all these points. Motion into the backfield is a quick flip. Shaking one, but Sabri, no, check that, Bloom is waiting for him. In fact, it'll be the onside kick here. Sabri, the only man, where'd that ball goes, and he's got it. The linebacker left on for the hands team. In fact, the Cardinal just trotted out their normal return team. No special unit there, but they get the ball plus side as Wesovich tries another run. Again, Bama is there to shut it down. Goes as a gain of 1, though Cardinal trying to chew some clock here, take away time for the Alabama Crimson Tide. Snapping that ball with 1 and looking to get their speed outside, but again, linebackers match. This has been one of the few times this year where the linebackers have been able to keep up with the athleticism and strength of the Stanford Cardinal. 3rd and 7, and it's a keeper for Jewell. He's got the first down. He tried to even get outside, but it's the read option that pays off for the Cardinal, keeping that clock moving. And it's going to be a flip to the outside here. Biggums puts on the spin move and gains a 2. Nothing too flashy in the yard count on that, but a hard-earned gain it was. Jewell here with, again, some more option. And it's another first down for the Cardinal offense. And it seems like they finally found the trick here against this Alabama defense late on. Make them sit or decide where they want you to go. And that's what they're doing to a lot of success. Though Taj Jewell holding at his back here following that tackle. It did look like he got rolled on. Perhaps that is the injury. We'll find out again at the end of this one. But 2nd and 3 for the Stanford Cardinal, and it's Biggums following his blockers, a gain of 2. The Cardinal really not in any hurry here, taking their time. Again, snapping that ball with about 1 second to go. Biggums has the first down. He's down to the 2. At this point, you could just kneel out the clock, but the Cardinal keeping their offense on that field. It's a 3 heavy set for the Crimson Tide, and it's Babineau with the dagger inside a minute. Some fullback love for the Stanford Cardinal. But it's a touchdown that is not receiving much love from the crowd as they tack on some extra points here late on, make it 38-13. Well, that brings an emphatic end to this one, and Coach Bearington seems to be well on the way with his Stanford Cardinal at completing that three-peat. Something many thought would be impossible with such a large wave of new players stepping in, but they have kept up the Cardinal tradition under Coach Barrington dominating teams in the playoff like the Alabama Crimson Tide. They had a couple good drives here and there, but they just weren't able to piece it together throughout. Meanwhile, the Cardinal found a lot more success throughout, and they'll be keeping their playoff hopes alive as we move on to the semifinals. And it'll be against the Longhorns as we look to take home yet another Rose Bowl as well. In fact, is this a repeat of last year's Rose Bowl? And indeed, it is. We won last year 33-21 with a late fourth quarter pick six to seal that game. Texas is looking for their revenge, and they're coming in with a pretty efficient passing game, about 250 yards per game, though they rush less than we do, and our passing game is pretty close to what they do. Overall wise, we're at 93, they're at 89. But at this point in the season, anyone can win these games. And that even includes the like of Boise State. They got through the first round against Georgia 13-10. They then beat LSU 46-29. They have the number one team in the Ohio State Buckeyes up next. So it will either be, if we win, it will either be a rematch for last year's national championship or our third game against Boise State this year. And the third one will be the one that matters the most. But first, we got to get through the Longhorns, who did have the first round bye. They then beat Nebraska 28-17, and then face our Cardinal in the Rose Bowl for the second straight year. And to make sure you don't miss that game, hit that bear icon in the bottom right, or scroll down, hit the sub button, and tap that bell icon so you're notified of when these videos go live. And leave your boys some love. Smash that thumbs up to encourage them to keep this series going. As a reminder, it is win or we are done for at least the next few weeks. The plan is that behind the scenes, I'll still be recording some Stanford things, and we will have almost a documentary close to the Stanford Cardinal right before the next college football game comes out. I want to say July 10th is when the early access, I think, opens up. Double check me on that, but it'll be around that time where the final episode of the Cardinal do come out. In the meantime, we'll be starting our prequel series whenever this one wraps up to our next coach, get his background going, and it will be a player you just might be familiar with our Stanford Cardinal series. Well, make sure you're here on Friday for the Rose Bowl, and make sure you're here throughout the week. We got Cha-Cha Vaz on Tuesdays and Thursdays. He's trying to elevate the St. Louis Cardinals, who are in a pretty rough spot right now. And we've got playoff football with the Jacksonville Jaguars on Wednesday, and perhaps could even be more this week if you make sure you leave that series some love. So be there on Wednesday. Cardinal back on Friday for the second straight Rose Bowl game against the Texas Longhorns.